Are we live? I think we are. All right. Thanks for joining me today. My name's Josh Gant. I'm an SE with Rubrik. And today we're going to go through a short demo of Oracle protection with our new Oracle Snappable feature where we can manage Oracle databases simply from our GUI or from our API interface. As you can see on my screen, I have our user interface pulled up. And we've had some conversation before in general with Rubrik, but I think I might want to touch on a couple items, specifically how simple it is to set up and manage the system. We'll start with the SLA domain concept. This is our analog to a backup job as far as how you might manage that. And but as you'll see here, I think it's a lot more simplistic and easy to get going. So I've created a new SLA domain here called demo 1 hour. And as we can see here, I'm just taking an hourly snapshot. I'll go ahead and pull up the edit screen so you can see what it looks like to actually create that. We just have two pages. There's just this first page, and then we have our remote settings page, and that's it. So what we're doing here is we're deciding how frequently do we take copies of a given object, and then how long are we going to keep each of those snapshots. Then down below, we're going to set when we actually do these tasks. By keeping this line open, you're letting the AI mechanism within Rubrik decide when to take those snapshots ultimately and kind of juggle different jobs and kind of take that load off your hands. The second page, we're basically defining where we want to keep that data. You know, part of it's going to be on the brick. Maybe you choose to use our archival feature where you put a certain period of that data up in the public cloud. Or maybe you have an environment where we've got a couple different Rubrik clusters and we're going to replicate between the two. And those are simply defined here with a drop-down menu and a slider. That's it. Once that's created, I've got a couple of Oracle Linux systems, and I've already added them to the environment. So let's take a quick look at that. Again, the process here, you can see I've got a production and a development Oracle Linux machine. Had I not built these in already, it's very simple. You click Add Host. You're going to download, in this case, an RPM, and then run that RPM. That's going to install our Rubrik connector or our backup service into the operating system of your virtual machine or physical system. And then we're going to just add the host names in, and it's going to simply make a connection. You can see that here with the green icon. So as far as protecting Oracle, that's also very straightforward. So we can come down to Oracle DBs. Once that Rubrik backup service is connected and running in the operating system, so long as there's an Oracle service running, our RBS or Rubrik Backup Service is going to index Oracle and communicate back to the cluster what databases are present on that system. And in this case, we just have the one instance. We can dig down in there and we can see kind of information about this particular database. I'll step back one. We can choose to protect at this level. So if I had multiple instances, I could select them individually, and then I could assign SLA domains to them individually. Now what I'm going to do in this case, I'm going to back up one level, and I'm just going to protect the server itself. And what that's going to do is any additional databases that are added to this server will automatically be protected. So it doesn't have to be a process where you're going back into Rubrik to make protections. If that fits your workflow, you can certainly do that. It gives you some granularity. But in this example, I'm just going to assign an SLA domain to the actual Oracle server itself. So I'm going to click Manage Protection. And then I'll assign it to this demo 1 hour SLA domain that I just showed. And down below, we're going to select how frequently we want to collect Oracle logs, and for how long we're going to keep them. I'm just going to do 2 days. I'm just showing all of you how this works, so make it simple. There we go. And now we're protected. So really, I mean, that's the simplicity as far as getting protection set up. It's as simple as that. You're going to define an SLA domain policy. You're going to install just through your normal software distribution. In this example, an RPM file puts our Rubrik backup service on the operating system. It's going to index Oracle for you, report back to the GUI, and then we have a couple different ways to assign that SLA domain to the database or to the database server. Simple as that. Now, as far as restore functionality, I think what we'll do now is I'm going to take a copy of this database and I'm going to run it on this other secondary dev system. So how do we get to that point? So basically, again, with Rubrik, it's all search oriented. So I can just start typing the name of a database and you'll see it pops up here. I can also, through our servers and apps, Oracle DBs, I can kind of click in, search at this level. So maybe I've got, 100 database servers. We can still search here, kind of narrow it down. So it's very simple to navigate to. We'll jump in and it'll bring us to our object overview page, which just gives us some useful statistics around that particular database, where it's running, um, recovery points, snapshots we've taken, what it's being protected under as far as an SLA domain, and then general activities down below. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in, let's go to yesterday, and we can see we've got snapshots and logs from yesterday, given the green dot. And what we have here is a timeline from the day before in this case. Green dots are indicating when we have snapshots of the file system and the underlying system. And the green line is indicating that we have log backups. So that gives us the flexibility just with the slider to select a specific time down to the minute in which we'd like to restore the database. So I'll just go to 6:05 p.m. And you can see here we've got a couple of different options. So if I click on this little menu icon here, I can export that database at that time out of the Rubrik environment. So I could copy that database out to a different system. Maybe you want a copy of it external to Rubrik, external to these two Oracle servers that were created. You could bring it and import it somewhere else. Instant Recover gives us the ability to basically just go into that to that virtual machine or Oracle system and basically just put this copy of the database down over top of what is there. This would be used if you've got essentially you're in a disaster state, the database is completely gone. You can just quickly put it back at a certain time. And then mount is the ability to reach into, in this case, a different Oracle system and run the database off of the Rubrik. So we're going to basically build some NFS mounts on the fly. We're going to boot up basically provide the database as it existed yesterday at 6:05. And then we're going to configure Oracle to load up that database on a second system. That's what I'm going to show you today. But you do have additional flexibility. So if there was specific table spaces within that database that you were more interested in, we can export those individually so that, maybe, this is a tiny subset of the total database. That's all you're really after. We can export that. So let's go ahead and we'll do this mount up here on the entire database itself. We just select mount. And then what's going to happen is any other Oracle system that we are have a Rubrik backup service is going to be listed here. So you don't have to go back to the source system. You can leverage other development dedicated systems or any other Oracle system in the environment. And then we just click mount. And really all the work is being done in the back end. And if we scroll down a little bit, we can see through this activities screen um, kind of what work the Oracle DBA would typically need to be doing manually or through some level of scripting, what Rubrik is doing on their behalf. So we're bringing up that database, putting that database together as it was at 6:05 p.m. yesterday, um, building NFS connections, multi-channeled connections out to the host, and then configuring Oracle on that host to um, read and leverage this database. And all that's kind of being done in the background. In fact, if I take a look at the system itself, we'll jump over here. You can see I have a shell into this development system. Let's take a look and see what we see within Oracle. If I look to see for this given database where those files reside, we should see that it has connections out to the rubric. And there we go. So you can see this particular path is actually NFS over to the actual rubric cluster. So just like that, with a few clicks, we are able to um, present a database right down to the minute to a secondary system and do so relatively effortlessly. As far as getting cleaned up and when we're finished, you just go over to Live Mounts and you go to Oracle Databases. And then when this is completely finished, you just have a little option to just remove that. Um, and we'll go ahead and take all those steps in reverse and pull that data back out. Um, so very straightforward, very simple, and that's really what we're all about. So I appreciate your time today. Take care.